Now, y'all, I haven't said anything yet. Better be careful. Oh, good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful day in downtown Lexington, here in the East End, and it's made more beautiful by the wonderful flowers we enjoy around town thanks to America in Bloom, now known as Celebrate Lexington. And I first want to thank several people, including our parks folks. We've got Diane here, and Chris, are you still here? Chris Cooper Ryder. Um, and Parks is an important partner in all of this. We've learned through the pandemic, haven't we, how important partnerships are to accomplishing anything. And so Um, when we first founded America in Bloom, Ann Garrity, I think it was 2014, and you were the original president. And we realized that this organization, which honored beauty in many ways, think landscape, think flowers, historic preservation, overall look of communities, environmental. We realized that was exactly what we wanted to lift up. And so, gosh, that'll be almost 10 years ago soon, in a couple of years. And thanks to the hard work of many people in that organization, Lexington has been the beneficiary. And so here, in Charles Young Park, we have many improvements, including a daffodil drift, which was planted in honor of Councilmember Jake Gibbs, who died unexpectedly in 2020. And then the next year, I think, we honored, or reverse, we honored Yvonne Giles, who's with us here. Yes, as our community champion. I say our, I feel like I'm still part of the group. Um, so I first want to thank from the bottom of my heart, Celebrate Lexington, known for many years as America in Bloom. And it's amazing, Margaret Mead said it best, it's amazing what a small group of dedicated people can do. Um, when they put their minds to it. And there are other original members here. I'm looking at Doris, you were an original member. Several people who've contributed along the way. So today we are honoring a new, now should I be saying American Bloom or Celebrate Lexington? We're just transitioning right now. Today we're honoring a new Celebrate Lexington champion. And he also makes his home in the East End. Thomas Tolliver has been involved with many of the projects the city has undertaken here in the East End. Isaac Murphy, Art Garden, improvements in Charles Young Park, Phoenix Rising, exploring the neighborhood's history. And I've known him for several years because I first met him in a neighborhood meeting where he was talking about and asking that the city partner on banners throughout the East End to honor important people here. He's a modest man, but he works like the Dickens, and he'll always let you know how he feels about an issue. So Thomas has put down deep roots here in the East End, so it's appropriate that we plant some daffodils in his honor. And he has definitely become a community champion here. So congratulations, Thomas. We're going to hear more about you in a few minutes. It's my pleasure right now to introduce Sheila Farrell, who is the Celebrate Lexington board chair. And I want to thank her for her work And yes, it's a labor of love. I know this. So thank you very much. Welcome.
And we don't have our mask on, so we're going to air hug. Air hug. Yes. No, we're going to really hug. So thank you.
The nurse said, does it have to be air?
Thank you so much, Mayor Gordon. Um, um,
1 minute. I don't want to
nope.
interrupt you.
And before we get started, I also want to welcome Delia Gibbs here. She is Jake Gibbs' daughter, and hello, and her beautiful puppy dog. Um, and her mom, Anita Courtney, had planned on being with us today, but she's a little under the weather. But thank you so much for being with us to represent your father, former council member Jake Gibbs, and uh, still we feel his loss in our community, and your mom has been so supportive of our organization, and the fact that you all live just over there it was so fitting to have him a daffodil drift in his name. And I also want to give a shout out to my dear friend and somebody who's been so supportive of our organization and does so much good work in the dirt all over Lexington. She gets her hands dirty. I've seen her do things over at the African American Cemetery. She is one of the most hardworking women I know, Yvonne Giles. You are a gift to Lexington. She is the preeminent historian in Kentucky. You are a treasure, and so the fact that we have these two daffodil drifts here, and that Thomas Tolliver is joining you all. So we are going to have three drifts, beautiful drifts, with the three of you all in your honor. I cannot think of a better trio in this community. Amen. Can I get an amen? Oh, absolutely. The East End is so represented in the three of you all. And I'm going to share a little bit more with you all about Thomas Tolliver. I have had the honor of being on committees with Thomas Tolliver, and this is not one of those, he was born here, he did this. If you, Thomas Tolliver is an activist. He gets involved in so many things. He is partly known for the great signs he makes. He makes them himself. He puts them up, and he shows up. He votes with his feet. If you want a wilting flower, Thomas is not your man. These daffodils are not going to wilt. I can promise you, because he is a person who stands up, shows up, and it's an honor to know him. If you want his opinion, he's going to share it with you. Absolutely. Isn't that right, Mayor?
It is right, and it's
It is said that the Lyric Theater and the Isaac Murphy Memorial Garden are the bookends of Lexington's East End neighborhood. And how fitting that these two gyms, the Lyrics Hallowed Stage and the Isaac Murphy Garden, with its outdoor classroom just waiting to be hallowed, would anchor a neighborhood that has produced its share of renowned artists, musicians, educators, clergymen, activists, poets, entrepreneurs, and athletes. These two bookends, one old and one relatively new, one where audience often raises the roof, and the other lacking a roof altogether. And if you don't believe me, let's find out how many times they've had to cancel or postpone or move some of their jazz concerts in the last year or two. But together, these organizations, they speak to the neighborhood's rich legacy as well as to the limitless future, and Thomas Tolliver could not be more proud to live smack dab in the middle of it. And those of you all that know where Thomas's house is, I'm not going to tell exactly where it is, but he's got a green thumb, because he's got great plants in the window of his beautiful house. His imprint on the neighborhood stretches from the Lyric Theater to the Isaac Murphy Garden and beyond. And pretty soon, it's going to be right there on that beautiful hill is where his daffodil drift is going to be. And you all are all invited to join us here on Wednesday, November 8th, the day after the election. And we are going to be planting 1,000 daffodil bulbs. That's the right time to plant them. And bring your shovel, your hoe, whatever you want. Wear your t-shirts, your grubby clothes. And usually we have somewhere between 25 and 40 people. You don't have to be a master gardener. Just have to have a big heart and a sturdy back, and decent knees don't help, but I don't have a good knee and I'm out here planting. So come join us. And big kids, old kids, I'm sorry, November 9th. Thank you for that correction. Thank you.
November 8th is etched in my brain.
I wonder why the. Let's see. Why does she know November 8th? So Wednesday, November 9th. Thank you so much. Go vote on November 8th, and then come out here on November 9th and help us plant 1,000 bulbs over on this side in honor of Thomas. Back to his information. What's interesting is that Thomas did not set out to live in the East End. Or to become an outspoken advocate for the East End, or even become immersed in the East End history. But here's how where we get to where we are. Thomas came to Lexington from Huntington, West Virginia in the summer of 1980 to accept a job as a reporter for the Herald Leader. That building uh, is over there, but as we know, it's no longer housed there. He was actually started for the Lexington Leader, which used to be the afternoon newspaper. He used to be a reporter for the Ashland Daily Independent. When he first moved here, he lived in apartments here, there, and he eventually decided he wanted to be in the hub of the city, downtown. He's a downtown kind of guy. He learned about a house on East 3rd Street that was going to come up for auction, and he went and bid on it. He thought he had overpaid when he paid a whopping $45,000 for this wonderful house, and he found out that a prominent, I know, stunning, isn't it? He found out about the history of the family that had owned it, and he got very interested in the history of houses. He found out a lot about it, and that spurred his interest in the East End. Um, and he did a lot of work on the house, and that's where his love of the history of downtown Lexington and Black history really came alive. Um, he also found out about the thoroughbred racetracks that had been in downtown, and that's where it all started. Suffice to say, long before uh, as he found out more, he was bitten by the history bug, and he learned more about the East End. And the more he learned, the more he wanted to know. He also joined the newly formed William Wells Brown Neighborhood Association, which was the neighborhood's leading advocacy group. Soon after that, he joined the group that had the vision to create the park that would honor jockeys and other horsemen, and many of them had their roots in the East End. That eventually built the Isaac Murphy Memorial Garden, and from the height of his career and until his death in 1896, Murphy and his wife had lived in the East 3rd Street house, in a house that was often described as a mansion. In the 28 years since becoming an East End homeowner, Thomas has been involved in a plethora of projects aimed at uncovering and celebrating the East End's history. A few stand out. Working aside his dear friend, Lexington's preeminent black historian, Thomas played a role in getting a marker erected at the Shropshire Avenue and East 5th Street that pays tribute to the Lexington Association racetrack. And to this day, the marker, which stands at what was the entrance to the track, is the only public recognition of the racetrack in the East End. In 2017, Thomas teamed with longtime East End resident Rona Roberts, who is here today representing our Vice Mayor Steve Kay. And together they led an effort to identify the neighborhood's oldest houses as well as its oldest residents. This project, calling Saving Our History, an Eastern Preservation Project, would culminate with a Sunday afternoon program at the Lyric Theater and Cultural Arts Center that would attract 245 people. This project went on to win 2 statewide preservations awards, and the amount of research that I know that went into that was immense. And to this day, I don't think you have quite gotten the credit that you all, the originators of that, deserve to get. So let me thank you all for that. More recently, Thomas has worked with several new community partners doing work in the East End, and among them are our group, American Bloom, and Trees Lexington. Again, he shows up, and he puts his back into it, and he is always so great to work with. Owing to many factors, Thomas has recently begun to curtail his involvement in community activities, but he only needs to drive the distance between the neighborhood's 2 bookends to see the most indelible fruit between the neighbors and all of his labor. At the Lyric, it's etched into a brick on the wall of honor that reads simply, Thomas Tolliver, East End activist. At the Isaac Murphy Garden, it is the 16-foot stainless steel sculpture that is topped with a medallion bearing an image of Isaac Murphy. Thomas is proud to have played a vital role in selecting that particular art piece and securing the funds to get it erected. But perhaps Thomas is most proud of is finding a neighborhood where he could put down his roots, do good work, and enjoy the fruits of his labor. Thomas Tolliver, it is an honor to know you. It's an honor for, on behalf of Celebrate Lexington, of Mayor Linda Gorton, and everyone standing here today, all of the press, the representatives from Councilman James Brown's office, and Delia Gibbs, to welcome you and thank you for being our 2002 Community Champion. You so richly deserve this award. If you would step forward, we're going to give you some stuff. Come on up, and we're going to ask you to speak because you are an excellent speaker. You have a beautiful voice, and we're going to give you lots of stuff. And then we're going to come out and plant bulbs with you and for you. So we're going to hand you this. You don't have to, we're going to hold on to it for you.
Okay.
So, and we've got a few other things. I'm going to hand over the microphone to you.
All right.
You are not a shy man.
All right.
And can I give you a hug? The mayor, who's also a nurse, said it was okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila, for that wonderful introduction. So glowing. I don't know if I can live up to all of that. To the mayor, Mayor Linda Gorton, what a pleasure to have you here this morning. And what a pleasure it is to see all of you here this morning. I appreciate your coming out for this recognition. And I feel somewhat inadequate, if I may say, that I'm joining a list of recipients of this award that includes the likes of Isabel Yates, our former vice mayor and council member, Marcia Ferris, Liz Pattengill, my friend Yvonne Giles, and our late friend Jake Gibbs. I want to give thanks to Sheila Farrell and the board members of America in Bloom, or as they're now called, Celebrate Lexington. I want to give a couple special acknowledgments, if I may. I want to, and I see in the audience my good friend, Rona Roberts, who was mentioned that I worked with in what truly was perhaps my most meaningful project in the East End. If you want to know more about that, talk to Mayor Rona, because Rona, I got some more ideas on how we can build on that project. I'll share them with you. But remember, I'm going into retirement, so I see the representatives from the First District office, and I thank you all for being here. And I thank all the others. My good friend Chris, where's Chris? Chris, where did you go? No, Chris Turner. Oh, there she is. And an old colleague from the Herald Leader. I appreciate your being here. Okay, you know, while my work as a community activist has not been as extensive, in my opinion, as the other recipients of this award, I am nevertheless proud of my work in my neighborhood. And this was mentioned earlier, I'm particularly proud to be known as the guy who makes the hand-painted banners. I ran into a friend at the Roots and Heritage Festival last weekend, and she said she saw my banner at Sal's restaurant the weekend that Sal's was closing. And I said, how do you know that was my banner? And Thomas, please. So I don't even have to sign them, and people know they're mine. In her introduction, Sheila used the term indelible marks. Indelible marks, marks that cannot be easily removed. She mentioned what I consider indelible marks in the East End. My etched brick on the exterior wall of the Lyric and the art piece at Isaac Murphy Art Garden. And come November, I'll have to add another item to that list, a daffodil drift on the hillside right where this cameraman is standing. And I can't wait for that to happen. Let me say just a word about our neighborhood, where I do most of my work. Most of it good, some of it, mm, but we in the East End, Mayor, we're seeing great change in the East End. Houses that had sat empty for years on end. Billy Mallory can attest to this. Houses that had sat empty for years on end are now being refurbished and resold for prices that just boggle the mind. This is resulting in a lot of new people coming to our neighborhood, and I don't see that changing in the near future. I, for one, believe that change is good. Change is inevitable. As songwriter Bernard Eigner said in his haunting masterpiece, everything must change. Anybody know that song? Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. The young become the old and mysteries do unfold, 'cause that's the way of time, and nothing and no one goes unchanged. Now, I could sing that for you if you really wanted me to, but we don't have time for that. Um, there's another line in that song that says, winter turns to spring. And when this winter turns to spring next year, this hillside will be awash in thousands of yellow daffodils, all while paying tribute to those who sought to do a little preservation amidst all the change in East End. What indeed, what an indelible mark indeed. Again, I want to say thank you to Celebrate Lexington, to all of those I have had the pleasure of working with and those I have yet to work with, but you still have your opportunity. Uh, um, and I want to thank all of you, for those of you in the audience who came out on this beautiful day. And I want to thank you for the privilege of your time.
Hi everyone. We have a little gift for Thomas. An 1871 map of Lexington fell into my hands. This is Lexington in 1871. It was hard to read. I had to get my magnifying glass out. This is where we are. All of Lexington developed to the west more before they moved to the east. And as best I can tell, this is Midland and Shropshire area, because I know that that's one of those is out Main Street. So we wanted to have you to have this because I know you like history. Indeed, this is for you, Thomas Tolliver, with admiration and appreciation for all you do for the East End and for all of us. So
Well,
thank you very much.
Thank you. You could not have given me a better gift.
Oh, good.
I'll have to take down some of those naked pictures of me on the wall to find room for this.
That's an honor.
I was a nude model, you all. That's you know. I would rubbish through after the drawing classes. I would rubbish through the trash to see the art pieces that the drawings that the students had thrown away, and I'd take them home and with thumbtacks put them on my wall. Child, I got more naked pictures of me than, you know.
Do you want us to put that on our website?
The naked pictures of this.
Instead of our historical people, what Mulberry Lane and what Walnut Street
Oh,
because there's already new names.
yeah, I'm sure a lot of it. Even within our neighborhood, we have a lot of streets with new names.
There is a street on there called Carrell in this vicinity, and I determined that that's probably Corral, and that would be a marker for you to kind of go from.
All right. What a wonderful gift, and I appreciate it. And thank you all. I'm available for interviews, but more importantly, I'm available for drawing sessions without my clothes.
Oh my God.
No,